Welcome to the VET S.O.S podcast. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline. Today, we're sitting down with Justin Cummins, manager of the Military Voices Initiative at StoryCorps. This is a great program that allows us to tell our stories. Excited to get into this specific episode because, what they're doing, how it's getting captured and all that is just, it's huge. And I think there's going to be some great things that, they can do to help our community as a whole. So definitely looking forward to this. So fresh from the studio where we recorded a duet album no one wants to hear. How you doing today, Keith?
I'm doing amazing. I'm really excited for this album, and I think we're going to take home that Grammy for Best White Noise for Pets.
So
Really, that's
maybe
it.
we can beat Tay Tay for album of the year this year.
Right? Yeah. I thought the White Noise for Pets would be a lot better than you did. All right, done.
Now we need to add in the, what do they call it, a rim shot or whatever.
Yeah, there is. We have that. I got to pull the audio stuff back.
Do we have it?
Yeah, I remember I was playing around a couple months ago. I found it.
So now we're off track. We're looking at the
Right?
different media things, and
Exactly.
Justin's over there going, "What am I doing here?" There you go.
There it is.
Got it. I'm going to keep that cue from now on.
Yeah, we have now taken this to a whole different level. All right. There we go. Justin Cummins is the manager of the Military Voices Initiative at StoryCorps, a national nonprofit dedicated to preserving and sharing personal stories. In this role, he oversees national recording events, builds partnerships with veteran serving organizations, and helps ensure that the voices of veterans, service members, and military families are honored and preserved at the Library of Congress. United States Marine Corps veteran who served 2 tours in Afghanistan, Justin brings a deep commitment to service, storytelling, and community healing to his work. He is passionate about creating spaces where military experiences can be heard and understood, and about helping all Americans connect through the power of conversation. Fantastic. How you doing today, Justin?
Man, I am doing good, Keith. And Shawn, I'm happy to be here. I appreciate the invite.
That's I'm glad we finally got you on. I know you and I have talked quite a few times over the last year or so, maybe 2.
Yeah, actually, I think it has been the past 2 years. The schedule's just not aligning. Glad they finally did, though.
So I'm glad that we have a database where we can collect stories from our veterans, because our stories are so powerful and every one of them's different. But before we get into that, man, tell us about your transition. How'd that go?
My transition, I feel like it's similar to everyone else. You get married and that 4 years turns into just 4 years. I got out. I bounced around not knowing where to go after leaving the Marine Corps. So many of us, we join and we're like, this is what we're doing for the rest of our lives. And then when you find out that you're not going to be there anymore and you put away that uniform, it's hard. I moved back to my hometown, which I never thought I would do. Started picking up odds and end jobs, dabbling in security, and just looking for the right path. I tried working in factories, tried doing every odd and end job that you could possibly do, and then just didn't have, a sense of purpose anymore. It was rough. It was definitely rough. I found myself bouncing downtown Nashville, and I met my wife. And my wife, she was like, what do you want to do with your future? I was like, well, I guess I'll go back into contracting or something similar. And she was like, aren't you getting a little bit too old for that? So she was like, look, I don't care what you do. You just can't be a firefighter because I don't want to see you without a beard. So I was like, all right, I'll go back to school. So I started studying history. And then, I started seeing that there was more out there. There was more than just, security. There was more than just dead end jobs. We could find a place, and I stumbled into StoryCorps. I graduated with a bachelor's in like 2 years just because of COVID, being able to take classes online as many as I wanted. And started off in StoryCorps' One Small Step program, which is like bridging the political divide. and saw my eyes on this job. And I was like, I'm going to work and I'm going to do whatever it takes to take over this program. And 2 years later, I took over the program and, haven't looked back. I've been every single day. It's like I have purpose again. So that's a little bit about my transition.
I especially love how you ended that with now you have purpose again. That's just fantastic. But so many vivid images went through my mind during your story. First, of course, you got the Roadhouse references, starting to think of, Patrick Swayze and Sam Elliott out there. And then I also started noticing, with your beard and your hair, there's a little bit of that Galdafini. What was his name? The guy from Sopranos, but back when he did Get Shorty, the movie where he had the long hair and the goatee, and he was essentially the muscle. So I'm dating myself. I know everybody's like, Get Shorty. What are you talking about?
I appreciate that, man. Like, because I definitely don't have the muscle anymore. I mean,
James Gandolfini, that's his name. But yeah, no, it's man, that's just fantastic, and then. It's crazy though to think that you went from being in the Marines to you became a bouncer and now you're doing this stuff with StoryCorps, and man, talk about a crazy journey that no one ever would have mapped out. I love hearing stuff like that because it just shows what can happen in transition. I don't know, what do you think, Keith?
And you hit probably the biggest nail on the head. Like, veterans, when we get out, the sense of purpose, that is probably the most common struggle, complaint, whatever you want to call it, or whatever, however you want to frame it, that I hear across the veteran community. Either they're complaining because they haven't found that purpose again yet, or they found it and they realized it, and I think you hit such a critical element, which I even try to help service members that are in transition or even out and just still in their journey. I try to help them realize, which is, where is your purpose? Where do you want your purpose to be? Like, you found it and you went after it. And I love that. Kind of similar story for me. I got into my employer now, the agency I'm in now. The job I have now is my dream job, but it's the second job I had, because the first job I got with this agency, I didn't even know this other job existed. But once I found out it did, I was like, I want that, and I went for it. And now, again, just like you, yeah, I have that sense of purpose, and yeah. So I think it's such a vital, important part of that transition journey. And we ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? But it really is, don't just pick something that pays well or whatever. What do you want to be when you grow up? Like, that's going to fill that void that the military left. Because love it or hate it, the military life, it did give us that sense of purpose for sure. So, all right, I'm rambling. So tell us a little bit about StoryCorps, Military Voices Initiative.
Yeah, so StoryCorps, the mission of StoryCorps is to believe that everyone has a story to tell and that story matters. The Military Voice Initiative, they launched it in 2012. Since then, we've collected over 10,000 military voices, and that's across all of our programs, which is insane to think about. 10,000 voices, whether it be, from the political aspect of their thoughts of how their service impacted their political beliefs, or, we have our Brightness in Black initiative, which is, rewriting Black narrative and, hearing about service members through that aspect, or the Military Voices Initiative, as well as our 9/11 initiative, which I know we have the 25th anniversary of 9/11 coming up. But those soldiers and airmen and seamen and Marines who stood up on 9/11 and were like, hey, I'm going to serve my country. Got all these different collections, roughly 10,000 voices. And then StoryCorps as a whole has around 700,000 oral histories that are all archived in the Library of Congress, which is insane to think about. And
So-
don't try going in there because it's man, it's a deep swimming pool.
So what, for those who maybe not understand or realize the significance of that, well, what's the importance of it being in the Library of Congress?
The importance of being in the Library of Congress is that's long-term preservation. That's legacy. I mean, that's if, I have a great-great-grandson down the road who wants to hear about my time in the service, he's going to be able to go to the Library of Congress and he's going to be able to find my voice, my story, and my struggles, how I overcame them, and my experience. And we can only do that through the Library of Congress. There's a lot of other programs out there like this. The difference is that all of our stuff is archived there, which means it's not going anywhere.
That's great. I didn't realize that part. Like, how did you all get connected with the Library of Congress? Like, that's awesome.
So our founder, Dave, he said it like at the beginning. He was like, I want all these archived in the Library of Congress. And they're like, no. And he kept pushing and he kept pushing. And somehow he did it. So everything that we do automatically gets sent there. It gets put there as well as our online database.
That's really cool.
That's incredible. So kind of like thinking about all, this many, 700,000 voices, like, what do you do? I'm sure people get nervous. They clam up. They don't know what to share. They don't think what they're sharing is important. Like, do you assist people with like kind of helping break that ice to get them more comfortable? And if so, or if somebody other, like, what's the best way you all have found to kind of get people to just open up?
It's to connect with them and that you let them know that there's no pressure. You talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you want to talk about your military service, I'm there for it. If you want to talk about your transition, I'm there for it. If you want to talk about your dog skipping and jumping and running in the yard, hey, I'll talk about dogs. I mean, it's no holds bar. It's whatever you want it to be, you can make it that. So many veterans have told me while they're recording, it's like it's sitting down with someone that you served with and it's just having a conversation. It's not, looking for any type of gratification or, I'm not searching for, clips or anything like that. It's just a conversation. I'm not trying to get anything out of your service or out of you. I just want to talk to you. And every single one of our facilitators is trained to do that. And that's the amazing thing about this process. And then also after you record, it's your decision whether that goes on to the Library of Congress or if that interview's deleted. No matter what, you're going to receive a copy of it for your friends, family, and for your own personal use. But if you don't want it to be on our archive or sent to the Library of Congress, that's all right. And if you change your mind down the road, that's all right. You have complete autonomy about your story, your voice, and what you want to do with it.
That's fantastic. So, how do people get into doing this? Like, if I decide I want to tell my story, for the Military Voices Initiative, walk me through that process. How's that work?
All right. So there's a couple options. One is the easiest route, which is download the StoryCorps app. You download the StoryCorps app. You can do it from the comfort of your home. You can talk to whoever you want to. You want to talk to your granddad who served in World War II. Download the app, record it. You'll archive it yourself. We'll look it over and we'll get it all finished up. You can go on StoryCorps.org and go to the Military Voice Initiative program. There you're going to see that we have virtual dates set up that you can sign up for. Now, these are facilitated conversations. So let's say, Keith, Shawn, you guys decide you want to do a recording together, talk about VET S.O.S. You guys would go on there, you would book the appointment. We roughly have anywhere from 5 to 10 appointments a month that are available for anyone across the United States to book. Put in your information, put in your partner's information, And then a facilitator will contact you about a week ahead of time, get everything set up. They'll send you out a link to our virtual platform, just like this right here, where we're just talking. Be the same setup. We'll record it. You'll decide whether you want to release it or not, and you don't have to decide that day. And then you have your conversation. The third way is in person. So we do have in-person appointments all over the country, depending on what we have going on that year. You know, we do a lot of partnerships with different organizations. A couple of them are at the National Veterans Memorial Museum in Columbus, Ohio. And the other one is at the National Infantry Museum in Columbus, Georgia. And I didn't do that on purpose. They just happened to both be in Columbus's. But, you know, we set up times that we're going to come down and we're going to do recordings. And if you catch us on one of those times, then we're going to be there. We also offer opportunities to other veteran organizations. If they want to set up like a recording event, we can do it, whether it be in person if we have someone available, or we can do a virtual event. So those are the three options that you have to sign up and to participate.
It's fantastic. And I love the ease of having an app so you can basically do it whenever, however you want. I don't know, Keith, sounds too easy.
Yeah, right. No, it's again, like admittedly, I hadn't heard of this program prior to, you know, getting this interview scheduled and set up. So I'm loving it though. Like it's such a powerful program. Like you said, legacy, right? I love that. Yeah, I'm getting older in my age and years, and so you know, but that word, it changes over time in its meaning to you. And I think more and more about it, and I think of it very differently. So I think it's an amazing program. I actually want to, I think I need to go get my dad on recording before before too long, because he, you know, he was a Marine as well in Vietnam twice. But yeah, it's an amazing thing. So I'm just curious. Like I always try to think of find the humor, you know, the dark humor and everything. So right before we started recording, you were telling us a story about an EOD guy that you served with in Afghanistan, and you may have been throwing some dirt on top of them with some pew pews. So I'm just curious, like, what is the craziest story that you've heard in an interview where you're just like, there's no way this is true? And like, were you able to just keep a stone face, straight face, keep going, or were you like, I gotta hold on, time out? Like, there's no way.
You know, it's hard to narrow it down. I mean, we also do like animations of these recordings sometimes, and we do, you know, audio clips and stuff like that. My favorite one, though, is one that I didn't record myself, but we have an audio clip of, and it speaks to like that humor that you have in the military. And it was this, I believe he was a Marine, and it was Halloween. They were in Iraq, and he decided to dress up as his sergeant. So for Halloween, he like put, you know, a fake dip in, like took some toothpicks, put them behind his ears to make his ears stick out a little bit more. And then the biggest like thing that he did was he took his NCO's uniform and dressed up in his uniform, went to the chow hall and is eating. And then all of a sudden, hears his name shouted. And he's like, oh, shit. Oh, can I cuss on here? I didn't know.
Okay.
All right. All right. But so he hears his name shouted, and he's like, crap. And it was the sergeant major. And he was like, you know, Joe, what the hell are you doing? And he like stands up at attention, flips around, like goes, and he was like, go to your hooch and wait for me. So he's thinking he's going to get just like grilled, you know, wearing NCO rank. I think he was probably like a PFC or a Lance at the time. And here I am using Marine Corps terminology. But he goes to this hooch. He's waiting there, and he waits all day. Sergeant Major shows up at like 7, snaps a couple pictures and goes, that's the best Halloween costume I've ever seen. And then turns around and walks out.
Awesome.
But it's stuff like that. Those are the stories that we're getting. And it's hilarious. Like, how often do you get to hear those stories of when we're overseas and we're just goofing off? Because we're trying to make light of a time where it's just like everything else is chaos.
I'm so glad to hear a story where a sergeant major had a sense of humor. Because
Right?
when we were deployed, happened to hit Halloween one year, and this dude, he was a E6 staff sergeant. He dressed up in a full gorilla outfit and put his old DCU uniform over it, like he had ripped it and cut it and everything to fit. Because we were at that point, we were past the DCU anyway, so it was an old uniform. And he literally walked from his hooch to the office. He got screamed at by so many people, for not being professional, this, that, and everything. It's like, first of all, I get it. We're deployed and everything, but at the same time, you got to have a little bit of, relief, for all the pressure and stress and everything else. And he didn't hurt anybody. He was wearing his own uniform. It wasn't like he was wearing somebody else's, it's just like, chill out a little bit. But, some people can't do that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear it. I
The
mean,
maddest I've ever seen a Marine. That's the way I thought the story was going in a different direction. Because I will say, like, Marine, you don't mess with their uniforms. The maddest I have ever seen, because I've served with all the branches when I was in, and I was serving with some Marines, and some Army guys wanted to play a practical joke on a Marine sergeant, and they flipped his rank upside down on his collar. Oh, you want to talk about, like, that is the
shit.
maddest I have ever seen. Maybe anybody, let alone a Marine. Oh, he was livid.
So what's an E6 in the Marines? Is it a staff sergeant?
Staff sergeant.
So I was a sergeant first class E7, and we went to Marfor North for a political event. And so we had to be on their network. So they put us all in the system, and they didn't have a way to do sergeant first class. So it said Gunny next to my name in the email. And this staff sergeant, like, started lighting into me. You're no damn Gunny, blah, blah. This is your stupid system.
You have your cross rifles, yeah.
Yeah, I never once said it, never claimed it. Let's chill out a little bit, man.
Now I got to tell you that my first day at that unit that had the Marines in it, my very first day, I hadn't learned Marine Corps culture yet. And a staff sergeant walked by me, and in the Army, you can say sergeant. And I did just that, and I got lit up. I forgot about that moment too. I was in a stairwell, and this staff sergeant, she poured me up one side, down on the other. So learn that day you don't say just sergeant to a Marine.
Yeah, Marines are a little serious.
Yeah, because of the rank.
Yeah, I would say almost. I would say a little bit too serious most times. I mean, yeah, I got lit up so many times whenever I was in. I mean, as like a young, like, private PFC, like, and I asked for it. I'm not gonna lie. I was just one of those people who love pushing boundaries. I mean, just ask my wife. She's just, but yeah.
That's fantastic.
I will tell you, it's the stories though. I mean, it all boils down to, like, we don't even think about them as our service. We don't look back at the opportunity, the funny moments, like the horrible, worst moments where you're just like shivering, getting rained on, and then, someone says something funny or something happens that's just hilarious. We don't think about those moments that often. But this is an opportunity to bring those moments up and to, like, have a conversation with someone where you can do it as, like, an old battle buddy or another NCO that you served with, and you guys can talk about it. And guess what? Those moments are going to come up because that's a bond you guys share. And then your kids are going to come back and they're going to listen to it and they're going to be like, man, Dad, he had some crazy times, but you remember that time that, he was in a sleeping bag with another Marine eating crackers, and then the Marine got pissed because there's crumbs all in the cracker, or all in the sleeping bag?
That sounds like a Navy story.
The Marine Corps is a department of the Navy, unfortunately.
Yep.
Often been told the men's department.
I,
you
I
won't hear
love
me
the
saying that.
screw the interview. This is more fun just to tell old stories, man. This
Right?
is,
Well, that's it.
I mean,
Good
that's
fun
the whole
develop.
point of it, though, right? You know, we
It
get great
is.
stories on this show. StoryCorps is doing an amazing job capturing stories, and it's also a place where you can use terms and sayings that are familiar to us that make other people kind of cringe. Like when you tell somebody in the civilian say, "Yeah, we're all in the suck together," they're like, "What? What?" It's like, "Oh, you don't understand." Okay. Or the one thing that I was very common saying for me that I don't say, I try not to say anymore is, those go home and kick the dog days. You know, Civilians don't really like that one.
Yeah, you have to put a disclaimer out there. I don't actually mean I'm going to kick the dog.
Yep. So it's absolutely crazy. So what's the future hold, man? What are you trying to do here with the Military Voices Initiative and StoryCorps, and what kind of things are you looking forward to, and especially as we move into 2026 and beyond?
Around 2026, we are looking at doing a big stand up for those veterans who decide to join on 9/11. I don't remember, or I don't know where you guys were at, but man, I was in 4th or 5th grade, and I remember watching those planes hit the towers.
All right, this
I'm not
interview's
trying to
over.
make you guys feel old.
I was already in uniform, but okay.
See?
I joined because of 9/11. I was opening my store in the mall at the time, but yeah, I was way out of elementary school, that's for sure.
Hey, man, I can't control when I was born, but I can tell you on that day was the day I decided that I was joining the military. And thousands of others, tens of thousands of others, people decided to join on that day, whether it had been right away or, whenever they turned 17. So we're going to do a big push to collect stories from those who decided to stand up. We're also going to do a big push for, America's 250th, the voices of veterans. I was fortunate enough last week to have been invited to the VA headquarters in DC to do a video for them that they're going to be broadcasting.
Nice.
Getting the information out about the Military Voices Initiative. So I'm really positive and looking forward to the future about growing this program and collecting more voices across all platforms, as well as, boosting those voices and letting people know that, what goes into service, what goes into sacrifice, what can we do to continue to uplift the stories of veterans who are natural born leaders, natural born, like,
Killers.
just some of the best people that we've ever met.
Yeah.
And oh God, and we're at time, so and you got me thinking, like, the whole VA thing, that aspect didn't even hit me until you said that, because I mean, that is, all of our VA hospitals across the country are a veritable treasure trove of stories, of history, of sacrifice, of service. Like, getting this program and just getting it into those facilities, just the sheer amount of stories we could glean from there is that's mind blowing. But Justin, we are at time, so I got two more questions before we go though. So first of all, like, I noticed you got the grant painting or picture behind you. So I'm curious, if you could interview any veteran in history, who would it be, and what kind of what aspect of their story would you hope they talk about? And two, you talked about the organization, but also let folks know how they can get in touch with you to support or to try to partner with you.
Yeah, for sure. If I could interview anyone, man, I have to go with my man Grant back here.
Okay.
Just to understand just like the full complexities of the time that they were living in and the choices that they were making. And, we're in hard times, and this guy, I mean, he led the way. So just to see that aspect of leadership and understanding would be phenomenal. I heard he was a little bit of a drinker, so it might be a good time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would definitely be a fun StoryCorps interview. And then, if people do want to get involved, if they want to reach out and stuff like that, you can go to StoryCorps.org -MVI, or you can contact me at MVI@StoryCorps.org. And then I'll also give out my personal email, which is jcummins@StoryCorps.org. That's jcummins@StoryCorps.org.
Awesome stuff, Justin. And awesome stuff you're doing for the community. Like I said, I admittedly, regrettably, didn't know much about this program prior to this podcast, but holy cow, I love it. And think I will actually take advantage of it. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and everything else you're doing for the community. And on behalf of the entire VET S.O.S family, we want to thank everyone for coming out and spending their time with us. It's always great having all y'all along for the ride. Don't forget to check out all of our other episodes and other shows and keep coming back for more stories, insight, and support from the VET S.O.S crew. And if you enjoyed this episode, give us a follow, share the show, and tell a friend or two. Toss your battle buddies, fire team, shipmates, and wingmen that flotation device that they need in transition so no one drowns in the sea of transition, and grab the VET S.O.S lifeline.